Alright, so my name's Alex Dalgard. We're going to be going through Lutron lighting controls, quick training over quantum view. So once your laptop is all set up, you're going to open up a Google Chrome tab. You're going to type in localhost, just like that. Press enter. It's going to bring you to the quantum view screen right here. Default password is admin1, all lowercase. Change that at any point in time. We recommend you do so that nobody can just get into your lighting control system. You can change that over here. So this is the screen it originally brings you to. You're going to have your alerts. So if any sort of device isn't communicating, an alert will show up there. Schedule, so your time clock events will be on this screen. Quick controls is basically a programmable button that you can make basically do whatever you want it to do. Enable a time clock, disable a time clock. You can make it control your entire building if you want to. Load shed is if you are using too much energy and Eversource or National Grid, whomever you use, is telling you that your building's pulling too much power, you can simply activate load shed and that will drop lighting percentages based on how much Eversource needs you to drop. We'll go through each of those tabs in a little bit. On the left-hand side here, you have your drop-down menu, and this will bring up each floor. I'm plugged into the second floor, so we'll only be able to see the second floor at this time. So on the right-hand side, this little hamburger-looking device. Click on that. This is where you can manage your users, manage your system activity, sign out, change your password. So if you want to go in and manage your users. So right here you'll see admin's the only user. You can see you can add a user. So you can go in and you can edit user info. You can assign that particular person to the only floor that they can access. But as you can see right here, admin role has access to all areas, but you can change their role once you add a new person. And as you can see, everything's enabled. They can monitor every area that they need. You can type in an email so that every Monday you can receive an email stating whether or not alerts have been activated, or it'll just tell you your system's clean, you're good to go for the week. And once you're done editing all that, back out. And right back out to the dashboard there. So alerts, obviously nothing's there, but if you were to click into that, it would tell you, it would give you a notice what type of alert it is. For example, a device not communicating. You drop down to see exactly what device is communicating. You can view your history. Configure alerts is typically what we do. We configure alerts based on what your system is capable of doing. So for example, there are no smart ballasts on this project, so you will not see a ballast failed or anything like that, or one light failed. You would see just typically a device not communicating. Schedules, these are your time clock events. It is on an astronomical time clock, so for exterior events, they are going on and off based on sunrise and sunset. So as you can see right there, 6:22 a.m., as you can see, it's continually decreasing, or increasing time, rather. And you can go in and change any of these events. So if you were to click, you want to obviously, so Wednesday, we've already activated the 6:25 a.m. to turn exterior lights off. But if you wanted to adjust that, just click on the one day after, you click on series, so that way it adjusts the time clock for the entire project. So as you can see, exterior roof lighting scenes off every day, 30 minutes after sunrise. Say you want that to be an hour after sunrise. Click on the little pencil, and you can adjust everything right here. So you would adjust 1 hour, so weekly, every single day, as you can see right here, from 7:09, which is when this database was originally created, until forever. So it will continue to do that scene. Once you've done everything that you need, you would just click Save here. You'd see a little circle going, saying that it's saving, and then it would save. You can test that time clock event. I'm just going to change this back quick. You can test that time clock event, and that will send the lights into, so if you just click Test, testing this event will activate any programmed actions immediately. You can test the event, and those lights would turn off, simulating that 6:25 a.m. time clock. And just back out, and this will bring you right back to your schedule screen. So as you can see, you have your 7:22 time clock event. Doing the same thing, exterior and roof. So you have a roof light, and you have lights out in the front. You have 6:30 p.m. and 7:30 a.m. All these time clocks are for corridor lighting. Basically, during the day, your occupied scene is going to be 80%, and your unoccupied light level is going to go to 20%. So from starting at 7:30, if somebody walks into a space, or if somebody walks into the corridors, your lights will turn to 80%. If nobody's in that space for 15 minutes, your lights will time out but not go off, but dim to 20%. It's pretty much for, you'll see six events there. That's basically for every corridor, going from the basement all the way up to the 5th floor. And then you'll see, obviously, 6:30 p.m. Your lights are going to go to 60% on the occupied state, and the unoccupied level is off. You can adjust that right here using this pencil, and a little pencil over here. You would edit your action, and you would go down to unoccupied light level. So unoccupied light level is off at the time of my event, but you could change that to any number of different scenes here. And then once you picked whatever one you wanted to change it to, then you would just click Done. And it'll bring it back, and just make sure you hit Save, and that'll save that event for you. And if you forgot to save, it'll ask you if you wanted to save your changes. I'll just save it. I didn't make any changes, but so this is just dimming this event is just at 11 p.m. instead of your roof being at 100% at 11 p.m. It's going to go down to 60% all the way until it goes off at sunrise again. So going back to your dashboard here, let's hop into level 2, and this will show you the whole floor plan layout, names of everything. If you zoom in, the names will appear. You'll notice some are yellow and some are grayed out. The ones that are yellow are rooms that have lights on. Excuse me, sir, I gotta grab a lunch. And rooms that are gray are obviously rooms that are off. So if we want to go into, let's just go into a random room here, video studio, so it's off, so you have the ability to turn these lights on and off, dim them, raise them up. So for example, if I hit on, you'll see this room goes yellow, hit off, goes off. You can adjust the name to whatever you want. You can actually go into the area dashboard, which gives you basically single room control versus looking at the whole floor plan. See, you have no events because there are occupancy sensors in this space. Right now it is occupied, so that means lights should be on, but I turned them off, obviously. So additional timeout on sensors. So you will notice that it will be at a 7-minute. There will be a 7-minute extra timeout. That's just so that we can get it to 15 minutes because the sensors default to 8 minutes. So 8 plus 7, we get our 15-minute timeout. They are auto on. Well, sorry. When the area becomes occupied, lights go to, they don't change. Because the occupancy sensors in this space are what we call vacancy sensors. So it's a manual on, auto off. So when somebody goes into the space, the lights won't automatically turn on. They'll have to hit a button on the wall to turn the lights on. But then if nobody's in the space for 15 minutes, the lights will go off. Now you can change that to, so when somebody enters the room, you can change it to, I want the lights to go to medium or high or 60%. I want them to go to 100%. You just click on that. You can click save. You can press apply now, and it says this area is currently occupied. So if you apply now, then the lights would go to 100% because the space is occupied, or you just do it when the sensor resets, essentially. I'm not going to save that. No change. Occupancy sensors, and occupancy is enabled, so essentially that sensor takes over. If you didn't want that sensor and you just want to simply hit a button on and off when you go in and out of the space, you can do that as well. Typically we like to leave that on so that your lights will go off just in case somebody forgets to turn your lights off. Anyway, sure. So you can go into the lights itself. You have a non-emergency lighting load and you have an emergency lighting load. There's 2 circuits going through that space. You can manually turn one on, keep one off, or you can turn them both on. Now you can create a scene using those 2 zones. So for example, say you want your non-emergency light to be at 50%, but you want your emergency light to be at 100%. For whatever reason, you just click Save to a Scene. Select that scene that you want it to go to, and then press Save. And that will enable you to trigger that particular scene for that room. Tuning is just simply adjusting the high end and low end trims of those zones. So for example, if you did not want your lights to go to on the on button to go to full 100%, well, it can say 100%, but you really only want to minimize those lights to only go to, we'll call it 60%. Then you can, then you would just adjust it here. So now your lights will only go to 60% on the on scene. But you do have the ability to raise and lower those lights within the room as well. There are little control devices in the rooms themselves with raise and lowers on them so that people can lower the lights if they're too bright. Go back out. So bring you back to your original floor plan. Up here in the top right, it says it's showing lights. You can show occupancy instead. And this will basically show you which areas are occupied and which ones are unoccupied. And right here, it's kind of hard to see, but it shows you, what's disabled, inactive, unoccupied, occupied. They're just distinguished between like a green and a gray and a black. So this is the corridor here. Or it's a collaboration space out in the Constellation area. As you can see, lights are at 100%. You have no events in this area. It's occupied. Your lights are on. You have no alerts. But you could create an event for this particular space. For example, you could just go to top right, add an event. So your event name, we'll just call it collab off. We'll do it at a fixed time. So at, let's call it 6 p.m. weekly. So Sunday and Saturday, or you could do it by date if you had a particular event, or any, like during summer hours, you could have it trigger to, you know, a certain scene. Now until forever. So you would go down, behavior, so you want to add a location. Collab project workspace, click on that, done. So you've added that space in there. So this time clock event, in this area, now you want to add an action. So you want to do, you have multiple different options here. We'll just stick with lighting scene. And drop down, let's just say you want it to go off. You just click done. So now you have on level 2, Collab Project Workspace 200, lighting scene off at 6 p.m. every single day from now until forever. I wouldn't suggest doing this because you have occupancy sensors in that space. So if that space is occupied and this triggers, it will override that occupancy sensor and turn the lights off. So if people are walking around in that space, that's not necessarily a good idea to have. But I just wanted to show you guys how to set up time clock events. All you would do is press save. Watch that wheel spin. Of course, technology wants to not work during this. There it goes. Now you'll see 6 p.m. starting today until forever. There's your time clock event. Go in there, open the series. I clicked on today because it has not triggered yet, so it allowed me to adjust the series. But I want to delete that and delete. Now you have nothing in there. Click your dashboard. I clicked it 2 times, but anyway, it brings you back up to here. And basically, you have this for every single level. So we'll go to level 4. I'll just show you. It's not going to come up with bring me any feedback because I'm not plugged into that floor. So It's not registering, as you can see. It has no idea if the lights are on or off in there. But this shows you everybody's rooms, and you would be able to do the same thing, turn the lights on and off, go into the area dashboard, and adjust any occupancy settings, view their alerts, anything like that. And that is, if you just click the little home button, that brings you back out and gives you the whole overview of, well, we'll do quick controls, as I told you I would. So quick controls, activate quick controls below. So we have nothing, but if you add new, quick control name, we'll just call it building on. We'll call it here. So now you want to add a location. Do not click on that. If you see an arrow, you need to click on the arrow, go into it. So level 1 will go into that area. Exterior. Now you see there's no arrow there, so you can go ahead and click that box and click done. Now you can add an action here. So again, you have lighting scenes, unoccupied, occupied level, occupancy settings. There is no occupancy sensor, obviously, for the exterior lighting. So those options really are not available, even though they are shown there. So basically, we have lighting scenes and lighting zones. We'll just stick with lighting scenes. Let's say you want to override control for bringing the lights to full on. Done. So now you have exterior on, level 1 exterior, lighting scenes, full on, save. Let's wait for this to do its thing again. Alright, so there you go. You see your quick controllers right there. Click on it, ask you to activate. And then you activate it. Your exterior lights would be on in this case. I'm just going to edit. Quick control exterior on, activated. I'm just going to go in here. Delete this out. But you can pretty much make that for, you can go through and select every single area on this job and basically turn all the lights on and off if you wanted to do that, if there was for some reason you needed to do that. Dashboard. Let me just go over load shed really quick. So like I said, if you were contacted by Eversource or National Grid and they were telling you that this building was drawing too much energy and you wanted to reduce load shed through lighting, you can do that. You can decrease the light level in all areas by, 50%. So that is 50% of the current light level. So if your lights are already at 50%, then it's going to do 50% of that 50%, so essentially 25%. You would just click Save. All you would do is activate Load Shed, and that would decrease the lights by 50%, and then you would just deactivate Load Shed, and you didn't need to do that anymore. Or you could edit it by area. If you know some areas draw more than others, you click the drop down, level 2, again, because that is what I am only monitoring, and you could just activate Load Shed per area. That is the basic ins and outs of Quantum View. It's not gathering reporting data right now because I'm only monitoring floor by floor, so I can obviously enable reporting so that you guys can get live feeds for how much each floor is using as far as energy-wise. You would obviously need the laptop plugged in at all times and running for this to actually work properly. That should be something we go over at a later date based on the setup of the system here with the floor-by-floor setup. Any questions? Lutron tech support is available 24/7 right out of Coopersburg. And obviously, I'm also available to answer questions whenever I have a moment. But first option would be to go to Lutron tech support. The numbers are on all the packets here and all the panels in these electrical rooms for any information that you guys need.
They have to be on the specific floor to make any changes to the settings, right? Plug in.
Right now. Yeah. As right now, unless networking comes through, then you would only have to plug into a network switch and you can monitor all the areas from any location.